Number 1. Liquor store. I work in a small liquor store. You can imagine the kind of business we get on New Year's Eve. Although I would personally think people wouldn't wait all the way until the last minute to get their alcohol, they definitely do. Our store was open until midnight as well, so people were coming in droves to get their drinks as late as possible. By the time we were closed, all the other workers were pretty exhausted, or so they claimed. I'm sure they mostly just wanted to go out and party. Well, I didn't drink, and I didn't party, so when we closed, I just let everyone go home. After everyone was out, I closed and locked the doors, and I turned out the lights. I closed down the register, took it back to the office, and locked the door. I grabbed the broom and decided to go and sweep up the floors first before counting the money. Now, this store is very small, so unless you're back in the office, you can see out the doors from anywhere in the store. So while I was sweeping, I heard something and looked over at the door. It was dark both outside and inside the building, so all I could see was the shadow of a figure standing outside. I couldn't tell if he was looking at me or not. I called out and told him we were closed. He didn't respond at first. I was a bit nervous and called out again. After standing there for a few moments, the guy walked away. Figuring it was just the drunk wanting some liquor, I went about my business. I finished sweeping up and went into the back office to count out the drawer. I shut myself into the office and began counting. It was then that I heard someone ringing the doorbell a few times. There was no way that anybody could know I was there, so I decided to just ignore it. However, when I did, whoever it was started ringing the doorbell quickly, over and over again. I knew I had to get up and go check, or I'd never get my work done with all that ringing. Walking out of the office, I saw the shadow of a figure at the door. There was no way that I could have known for sure, but it could have been the same person. I told him again that we were closed. He kept ringing the bell, so I repeated that we were closed and I was not going to open the door. He then began grabbing the door and shaking it, trying to open it. I was about to get scared. I told the guy we were closed, and if he didn't stop, I'd call the police. He then did stop. He stood in the doorway for a few moments, just looking in my direction. Then he walked away. I sighed a breath of relief, and I turned back to walk into the office. Just as I had my hand on the doorknob, I heard this really loud crashing sound behind me. Spinning around, I saw that the guy had broken the window of the front door. Panicked, I knew that the alarm wasn't going to go off because I didn't set it because I was still in the store. I saw that the man had a hammer, and that was what he must have used in order to bust the glass in the door. He then started breaking the glass more, and then he reached in and tried to unlock the door. Like an idiot, I didn't run and call the police. But sometimes in these circumstances, you don't think clearly enough. I went over to the door, and the guy tried to hit me with a hammer. I backed off, realizing how stupid I was. The guy got his hand on the door. I was standing beside a shelf with vodka bottles on it. I grabbed one and hit the guy hard on the hand. It was a thick bottle and didn't break, but the guy did drop the hammer. But then, strangely, he grabbed at the bottle of vodka I was holding and pulled it out of my hand. He pulled his arm back through the door, kicked the door, and then began walking away with the bottle of vodka, leaving his hammer on the floor. I went and called the police. The guy was picked up. He was super intoxicated when they found him. He was drinking from the bottle I had hit him with. He seriously had only tried to break into the store to get some alcohol. God, if I had known that, I should have just given it to him. Number 2. The dance floor. This happened on the Millennial New Year. All the dance clubs in my area had been booked up for months before the actual day. I had been lucky enough to get my spot reserved at a local club months before. The cover for the night was $50, but I figured that was probably pretty normal for that evening. I was planning on going out and getting drunk and just having the time of my life. I went to the club alone, but was sure that I would run into some of my friends there. We frequented it all the time. I had never seen a club that was so busy as it was that night. It was literally so full of people that you couldn't stand anywhere without touching several people. It was a bit surprising, I guess. It just seemed like it was a fire hazard or something. I didn't see any of my friends right away, so I made my way over to the dance floor. It was still early in the evening, and it really wasn't crowded yet on the dance floor. Although the rest of the building was packed, the dance floor was generally pretty empty in the beginning of the night, because you weren't allowed to just stand on it and drink. Well, you could drink, but you'd had to be dancing, and most people wanted a few drinks in them before they started. I got myself a Sex on the Beach and got myself dancing. I didn't have any nerves about dancing. It was my favorite thing to do. I do love the flashing lights, the techno music. Hell, anything about dancing, I love. While I was dancing, I noticed a guy watching me off the dance floor. This wasn't unusual, really. Just a chicken hawk, I figured. I simply turned around and just danced looking the other way. As the night went on, I and others ended up having a lot of drinks. Many more people came out to dance. I saw the creepy guy a few more times, but I tried not to pay him much mind. Each time he was just standing on the side of the dance floor, nursing a drink and watching me. It wasn't long until I was really buzzed. The new year came and went. The crowd just got drunker and rowdier afterwards. The dance floor at this point was just as packed as the rest of the club had been earlier. Lots of people were just dancing against each other, some spilling drinks over each other. Although I had mostly forgotten about the creepy guy, the next time that I looked over in his direction, he was gone. I figured if he had been planning on trying to hit on me or something, that he'd given up that pursuit. So while I was dancing, completely getting lost in the music, I suddenly felt this severe flash of pain in my arm. Alarmed, I clutched at my arm and noticed I was bleeding. Looking at my arm, I saw that it had a large cut on it. Alarmed, I looked around, trying to wonder what had happened. At first I thought that maybe someone had something sharp on their clothing, and I'd accidentally rubbed up against it. However, when I looked over to the side of me, I saw the creepy guy was on the dance floor. He wasn't really dancing, though. He was looking right at me, and he had a really creepy-ass smile on his face. I looked down at his hand, and saw that he had a small pocket knife in his hand. He noticed me looking down at it, and he quickly flicked it into its pocket. I tried to move off the dance floor. It was too loud for me really to talk to anybody and tell them what was going on. I just had to get over to one of the bouncers and tell him this asshole cut me. I glanced back at him, and he was trying to get through the dancers and towards me. That just made me more determined to try and get through these people. I pushed some people out of the way hard. I got shoved hard back a few times, but I really didn't care. I finally got to one of the bouncers and showed them what had happened. I yelled in his ear, and he looked like he didn't believe me. I tried to pick the creepy guy who cut me out of the crowd, but he was gone. The bouncer and I tried to find him, but we were unable to. There was just too many people in the bar, and he could have easily gotten away. I never saw the guy again at that bar. I figured he thought he'd get caught or something, so he must have never come back. Number 3. The Party. This story is from a female point of view. This happened when I was in college. I was invited to a New Year's Eve party as a freshman, and I was pretty excited. I didn't really know anyone at the school. I also wasn't the best person at making friends, so this was an opportunity. When I got to the party, I was sure I was sticking out like a sore thumb. I was just a 19-year-old girl who was standing by myself. I looked around, trying to find someone from one of my classes who I could possibly talk to. I didn't see anyone who looked familiar. After a while, I was approached by a guy who introduced himself as Jack. He was an okay-looking guy. He wasn't my type, really, but it was nice to know that I wasn't by myself anymore. I, in fact, was quite grateful for the company. I hadn't tried to get myself a drink. I wasn't sure if they would have served anything to me because I was underage. But when Jack said he would get me a drink, I readily agreed. He got me a rum and coke. I sipped on my drink when Jack got back. We talked a bit more. I thought the rum and coke was hitting me pretty hard, but I accepted when Jack offered to get me another one. However, as I was drinking it, I felt myself getting really dizzy. And after a while, things went completely black. I know what you're thinking. Someone slipped me a roofie and was going to take me somewhere and rape me. I wasn't raped. I wasn't even hurt. It was something much weirder that to this day I do not understand. When I came to, I was in a room full of mannequins, but they were horribly situated. They were dismembered. They had fake blood and wounds painted on them. Some had knives sticking out of their heads, their torsos, and other places. It was a pretty sick-looking scene. What was even stranger was that there was no one there. I didn't know this at the time, but I was in an abandoned house in the area. I didn't know who spiked my drink. I figured it must have been Jack, but I didn't know for sure. I didn't know why they brought me to this strange house and left me here without doing anything to me. They didn't tie me up, and there was nothing preventing me from getting up and leaving. Although the process of leaving was really scary, I kept expecting someone to jump out of a room and grab me. When I was out in the yard, I kept expecting someone to run out of the house and grab me. Walking down the street, I didn't feel safe until I got to a gas station and had the attendant call the police. I was taken to a hospital. I was fine. The police searched the house but didn't find anyone. I never saw Jack again. I have no idea of anything that happened that night from the moment I blacked out until the moment I woke up. It didn't seem to have any purpose at all. All I know is, it was damn weird. Hey all, Killer Orange Cat here. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please hit the subscribe button below, or hit the one that will appear at the end of the video. This will keep you informed of new content. Feel free to tell me what you thought of the video in the comments, and feel free to share this video with someone you think might enjoy it. Also, you can always follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter. Now, this has been my longest delay in between videos, but please don't think that means I'm going anywhere or winding down, or that we're going to go into another delay. I just took a few days off after Christmas, and was going to do a couple of videos over the weekend, but I got hit by a nasty flu and I couldn't even hold down water at one point. I'm much better now, and I am sure going to make sure I get a flu shot next year. So, I hope everyone is doing fine, and let's get 2017 started out as the best year ever for this channel. And don't forget to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a killer orange cat might be hiding. Good night.